I'm going to share something with you that may be happening to you right now without you even knowing it. And if it is, you may want to address it or do something about it before it's too late. Okay? Here's a story. You may not believe it. It's what happens to so many people just like you. See, I was in my office one day when I received a call from a client. We'll call him Kevin. Kevin told me that his mother, we'll call her Claire, also a client who is a widow, had just passed away. See, Kevin and Claire, they were both clients for around 20 years or so. Claire was 86. Kevin is around age 60. Claire had about $200,000 or so in an annuity. Now, I told Kevin what to do as far as calling the company, reporting the death, requesting the death claim form, and he did that. And Kevin said he had 3 other siblings, also beneficiaries. They were all listed in equal shares. Here's where the problem started. A few weeks later, I received another call from Kevin. Kevin said he'd gotten a check for his portion of the death benefit very, very quickly, as did his brother and sister. However, Kevin went on to tell me that last year, his youngest sister, her name was Susan, who was about 25 years younger than him, had died. He said she had 2 kids, and he and his brother and sister were under the assumption that his sister Susan's share would go to her 2 kids. Problem is, this didn't happen. You see, he and his brother and sister got the portion of the death benefit that they thought was going to go to their niece and nephew. He asked me how this can happen. I explained to Kevin that when his mother took out the annuity, she had all 4 kids listed as beneficiaries in equal shares. Now, at the time, she had no idea that her youngest child would die before her. Who would think that? See, at the time the annuity was set up, and his mother, she named beneficiaries, Susan's 2 kids were young. They were just early in their teenage years. And I explained to Kevin that there are different ways to set up beneficiaries. I told him that if his mother had set up what's known as per stirpes beneficiary designation for Susan's share, then in this circumstance, her kids may have indeed received the money, but she didn't. All the death benefit proceeds went to the remaining 3 beneficiaries that are alive, leaving Susan's kids totally out of the picture. But Kevin said his mother had a living trust, which states that his sister's share was supposed to go to her 2 kids. Well, I explained to Kevin that when his mother took out the annuity, she didn't have the trust. It wasn't in good order. And then when she got the annuity, even though she had a trust, she didn't want to put the annuity in the trust because there may be some negative tax consequences for doing so. Anyway, long story short, Kevin said he understood. He said he was going to go meet with his attorney because he was the executor of his mother's estate to go over some things and to see if there's anything that can be that can be done so some of the money would go to Susan's kids. You see, when it comes to beneficiaries on assets, I've seen way too many people make mistakes here. They usually just name the spouse as primary beneficiary and then the kids as contingent beneficiary, and they leave it at that. A problem is they almost always fail to keep beneficiaries' information updated as life events happen, things such as divorces or when new family members either enter through birth or marriage. Here's another story. It's another story about what happens. It's an absolutely true story. I had another client, husband and wife, longtime clients. Anyway, the husband died suddenly a few years ago from a massive heart attack. Then 4 weeks later, his wife died unexpectedly from a totally different cause. Now, during those 4 weeks, with everything going on, the family never made any changes to the beneficiaries. After all, the husband just died. It was a very emotional time for the whole family, as you can imagine. However, by not updating the beneficiaries, it caused all sorts of problems when the wife died. See, for one, they never had contingent beneficiaries listed on certain assets, which now caused probate. In addition, there were certain contingent beneficiaries listed who were no longer should have been listed because they were no longer part of the family due to divorcing one of the kids. So here's the problem. See, when the husband died, his wife, as the primary beneficiary, became the new owner as a surviving spouse. Makes sense. That happens all the time. And as the new owner, only she could update the contingent beneficiaries. who would now become primary beneficiaries at her death. Because she didn't do this, because this was never done, now lawyers had to get involved to settle the estate, and this is not what was wanted. So what do? Do you call your agent or financial advisor? You may want to think twice. They may be the ones who potentially set your account up incorrectly in the first place. Let me ask you, did they explain the difference between per stirpes and per capita beneficiaries? Bottom line, you should be reviewing your beneficiary designations on all of your assets at least every 2 years. And you must update them when there's a death involved. And you must also get in writing from every company that you have an account with who the company has listed as beneficiary. Because who you think is beneficiary and who the company has listed as beneficiary is not always the same. Okay, a couple other things. First, can you do me a favor? If you found what you heard interesting, or if it's making you think about your own beneficiaries, can you hit the like button and the subscribe button? Second, all of this information on this channel comes from one of my 2 most recent books. You see them right here. Now, the information in today's book, the information on today's channel, today's video is all in this book here. They're both available on Amazon.com. If you'd like them and get all this information, just go to Amazon, search my name, Ralph Loffredo. That's RALPHLOFFREDO. One thing you'll see is these books are written like, not written like novels. Instead, they're more like guidebooks. They're written in an outline format, so it's really easy to just browse through the table of contents and quick reference guide, find what you want, go to the page, see what it says, and put it to use immediately for results. So hit that like button and subscribe button. Now, one last thing. As a disclosure, because I am licensed in the financial industry, I've got to give you the fine print. Excuse me. See, everybody's situation is different. It reminds me of when I used to go to this one doctor all the time, and when he would walk in the exam room, he'd say, "Ralph, what's a good investment?" And I would always respond with, "Doctor, what's a good medicine?" You see, what might work well for one person may not work well for someone else, and may even be dangerous for someone else. And now, no information that I'm giving you or that is on this channel is in any way a solicitation for the purchase of any securities or insurance or investment product or service. The information on this channel is for entertainment purposes only. Now, as a viewer, you agree to hold myself and any company or other people harmless. None of this information is intended to be used as a source for legal or accounting advice. I am a chartered financial consultant. I'm not an accountant. I am not an attorney. When it comes to any legal or tax matters, you're urged to get advice from a competent attorney and/or accountant. Also, some suggestions or ideas or information presented on this channel may have inadvertently introduced practices, information, or strategies that may be unlawful in certain states or areas. So when it comes to taking any specific advice or suggestions, or when it comes to any investment or insurance matters, you are urged to meet with a competent licensed insurance and/or securities representative. I am not responsible, nor do I guarantee any specific or suggested amount of success, financial or otherwise, or any retirement security, any leadership power or wealth, to be obtained by you, the viewer, or by any other person.